Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to today's Medical Center Hour. This is a program of the Center for Biomedical Ethics and Humanities here at the UVA School of Medicine. I'm Marcia Day Childress, also with the Center for Biomedical Ethics and Humanities. Our program today is called A Meditation on Still Here, Learning from Survivors. It's our great good fortune that these last couple of years, the University of Virginia has had an ongoing relationship with the internationally acclaimed dancer-choreographer Bill T. Jones and his celebrated dance troupe, the Bill T. Jones Arnie, Zane Dance Company. This week, November 6th through 11th, marks the third and final portion of Mr. Jones's and his dancers' latest residency on grounds. All through the week, all across the university, they're at the heart of an array of activities from informal conversations, artistic collaborations and masterclasses, to interviews, open rehearsals, a sneak peek at their newest work, and polished public performances. How lucky we are that Bill T. Jones on this visit has traveled across grounds from the arts precinct to the health precinct to our medical center hour. He's an artist whose work speaks deeply and eloquently of the body, of relationship, of human strength and human frailty, of storytelling, of the spirit of survival. All themes that we in the healthcare professions know intimately as the stuff of our daily round. These themes play out most prominently, perhaps, in Mr. Jones's landmark 1994 dance piece, Still Here, which he created in community workshops with persons, non-dancers, who were living with terminal illness and who were in very real ways having to acknowledge and accept their mortality. Today, Mr. Jones reflects with us on Still Here and its legacy for him and for us. Now, nearly 2 decades after its creation, how does the spirit of this piece infuse his present work? How has he grown and changed since he produced this work? What did he learn? What can we learn from survivors living with terminal diagnoses? What does Still Here show us about healing, about our care for one another, about courage, resilience, and joy in the face of mortality? To introduce you to Still Here and give you a bit of background and to introduce you to its quite amazing genesis, we're first going to show you an excerpt from Bill Moyers and David Gruden's 1997 documentary film about the making of Still Here. Following the film, we'll hear from Bill T. Jones. Very quickly, Bill T. Jones is the Executive Artistic Director of New York Live Arts and the co-founder and Artistic Director of the Bill T. Jones Arnie Zane Dance Company based in New York. He's received innumerable awards, including a MacArthur Award and in 2010, Kennedy Center honors. He's received Tony Awards and he's been elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. You'll find a lengthy biographical sketch in your handout. He's a special artist whose message in the language of movement, but also, as I think you'll see, in words as well, helps us to know ourselves and our human predicament, helps us to help one another, helps us to heal. We're grateful today not only to Mr. Jones, but also to the Office of the Vice Provost for the Arts and to the Center for Design and Health in the School of Architecture for helping us bring you this Medical Center Hour. I'd also like to thank the fourth-year medical student members of the Gold Humanism Honor Society who last evening facilitated discussion following our screening of the full-length documentary about Still Here. So again, we'll start with the sort of executive summary of the film, and then we'll hear from Bill T. Jones.
Hello. Thank you very much. I feel like I've been blindsided. I don't look at this regularly. Yeah, I know. I guess I should have looked at it before now. Right. Well, what can I say about it? I feel you're giving me an opportunity here today, one I didn't know that I was looking for. I was thinking, I feel so far away from the work. The generosity of spirit, the feelings that are so, those violins just work you, don't they? Is that cheating? I'm serious, artistically, it's, those violins are working on parts of the brain and the psyche that, that's why the Catholic Church during the late medieval era deemed certain music taboo, because they said certain music was doing the devil's work because it could get people to feel things like, they didn't call them sexual feelings, violence, all those things. But be careful, music must be controlled, said the church. So we all know that we're big kids here, right? Like a lot of you, your life is dealing in this area of the human heart and healing. So what happened to the man that made that? I mean, a lot of what my life has been since then has been trying to move away from a position of being an authority on human suffering, redemption, healing, but I'm not. I'm a self-involved artist. And let's face it, we artists, as Louise Nevelson, the great sculptor, said, I set out to do my work to find out more about, she was very dramatic, more about me. True. But then I stepped into something much bigger than that. And I suppose that's why I'm being given the honor of being here today. But you'll have to admit that you're talking to the imperfect man, the man who has an nervous ego, a man who has lots of fears, a man who actually set out, and I would always preface my sessions, the survival workshop, saying, first and foremost, I'm a man that needs his hand held. I want to know how you do it, because it was about me. I want to know if you can tell me something that would give me fresh reason to sing and dance. And could you do this thing, which was very mischievous. I said, do you feel you're part of an elite? An elite, they said. I said, do you know something that the well do not know? And that was like, they're very good people, modest people, and after they struggled with that for a while, they said, oh, yeah, we do. But as one man said, I sure wish the hell I didn't have to go through what I've gone through to know it. So is art a shortcut to it, to this knowledge? We said when we were making this was not going to be a work for the sick. It was going to be a work for the well. And here's the rub. Is that possible? So the last almost 20 years has been me running away from that mantle. Maybe I didn't want to be in that community. Maybe I did what I could do. I made my poem and I moved to safer ground, which for artists is the realm of their ego, their ambition, their career, and, quote, bigger questions of form and elements and meaning in the culture. Well, it's hard to imagine what could be bigger, isn't it? But help me focus. What would you like to know? This is it's a good thing, isn't it? As I was watching it today, because I'm sure you've heard of the controversy that came out of it. Oh, God. Boy. Well, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I think you owe it to yourself when I'm not around to go and look a bit to art. Anyone hear anything about it? About a very big and nasty article that was written in the New Yorker by an artist, a critic who refused to go seeing it, saying that it was past criticism. She said she was beleaguered. She folded this work into the culture wars. How can I review people I feel sorry for? She said. How can I do a work that deals with disenfranchised blacks, abused women, fat people, sick people? I refused to go. And she advised her readers, and I would say to you too, don't go. It's just there to make you feel bad. Now, from a person who's not seen it, mind you. Now, I know I'm so, but I think you will, after we have our day here, then you need to know what drove me away from it. How I felt I was personally getting lost, eaten up by it. But that's, the article is called Discussing the Undiscussable. And it's an interesting read, and then maybe we should convene again to talk about it. But that's not our business here today. But what would you like to talk about in retirement? But I understand some people have to run off. What's on your mind? Do you mind saying who you are?
Just gonna make me talk in this microphone. I was here last night and saw the whole.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you mind saying who you are?
Sure, I'm Paula Shank and I'm a registered nurse here at the University of Virginia. And it's interesting to me that you said, this is not what you're here for, but actually it is exactly what we're here for. We were talking about it last night that when you work in medicine and you deal with death and dying a lot, you distance yourself because the fear is too great. I mean, that could be you, that could be your family, that could be your child. So you don't get close. You try to, you can't do that on that screen for long periods of time, or you just lose yourself and you run away to other parts of careers that maybe death and dying aren't so frequent. So watching that last night brought it back to us a lot in that we deal so much with the medicine now. One of the other nurses here, and she may be here today, said, you know, nursing is art and medicine, but that we focus so much on medicine and not enough on art.
And art, in that sense, is what?
Art, what we were looking at last night was the touch, the focus, the paying attention in the moment. Even though you may have 20 patients to see, even if you have 5 minutes, being here in that moment with that patient. Being connected. You seemed so connected when you were talking to them. You were close, everybody was touching. And now, you know, everything's electronics and computers, and we've stepped away from the physical touch a lot at the bedside. And
I understand.
that's amazing.
I was much, not much, but I had some significant encounters with groups of doctors after this in different places. And they were all very aware of this as being part of the ingredients for making a good doctor was good bedside manner, which was maybe one of the things that this is talking about. Now, I just dropped in to your world. You know, I dropped in, and therefore I've done therapy conferences. I've done all those things. I felt that I could not impersonate a healer, because what you do is, I mean, literally you're in the trenches every day. I guess what I was trying to get about art is supposed to be an organizer. I've often said art does what religion traditionally did for me. Organize a seemingly chaotic universe. Organize. Maybe that's the focus you're talking about. Art is about, if you talk about, depends on your point of view, an artist, a great theoretician like Marcel Duchamp, He, of course, speaking of visual arts, he said art is primarily an intellectual activity. Art comes in through the eyes, must be processed through the mind. Persons like myself say, but of course, the gold of the great jewel is the heart. He didn't necessarily think that was the case. I say art is participation in the world of ideas. We're talking feelings here. I felt put down when one of the reviews I got for the show said, it is nothing but pure feeling. I thought that was a put down. Now I read it and I feel differently about it. But you understand what I'm saying? If you're going to be a person in the human services field, medicine, healing, that's one thing. But if you're going to do this other thing, which believe me, some days I feel like I'd like to jettison myself from it, this quote art world thing, it is about the history of ideas. We've been talking about death and dying since the beginning of time. How does this pile up next to Shakespeare's to be or not to be? So, who sets the paradigms of judgment? Once again, that's not what we're doing here today. I think that's not here today, because this piece is contentious then, and I think it's still contentious in certain places. But is it art? Is it therapy? Is it art? But I'm with healers now. I don't have to worry about it unless some dance groups have snuck in while I wasn't paying attention. Yes, please.
Preston Reynolds. I was also here last night and was brought to so many moments of wonderful tears. You are a healer. We were talking last night about the healing that you did in this film with these people. But there also was have been moments of pain in your own life, and that story came through in this film last night. How have you been healed with this work? And do you think we have a chance of being healers if we don't undergo a healing process ourselves?
What is that line, Doctor Heal Thyself? Where does that come from?
Yes, it's a line, but it's just words. And how do we,
But no.
how do we translate into that a moment of the heart
Yeah.
and a moment of the experience?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're asking very complicated questions. I think, first of all, I appreciate that you were able to feel it. I appreciate that. In African American church, I testify, you answer back. I testify, you answer back. And I said that's what I was missing in the avant-garde for so many years because they were so busy thinking they could not answer back. Well, now you're answered back, and I appreciate it. However, I will not walk out and say, hallelujah, I'm healed. Because quite frankly, I think I've just I'm just out of now. 2 years ago, I didn't know it, but I was in a very deep depression. Very deep, with thoughts of suicide, all sorts of things. So, and I had done this in 93, 4, and yet 5 years ago, after winning, Tony Awards, everything, I was not happy. So I cannot say I was healed. For me, the takeaway is as trying to say to myself what I've always believed, that life is a spiritual process. And that does not mean that it does this. We would like, yes, it certainly does. And sometimes it does that, and so on. So, and we don't really know what it is, do we? So, what it taught me was a certain humility, and maybe, my God, the trust people had in me in this work. My God, what people gave. Those first 3 people you saw are all past. The big woman, that's Max Protect's cousin, niece, I believe. You see she lost one breast. The young Vietnamese man who was, when I get older, I want to have a family. He's gone. The woman, the earth is my mother, the French woman from Lyon, and that is a particularly wonderful story because her daughter, who found her sitting in blood and she felt Lisa was her name, felt such guilt because her daughter had been subjected to this. Her daughter is now a grown woman. Her mother's been gone. Her daughter comes to performances and she, this is her mother's legacy. What has it taught me? Take everything seriously. Take every person that you meet seriously. That's one of the things it teaches me. Your actions matter. And that's a hard one. Because part of the depression was this feeling of irrelevance. What does it matter? You know, what can an artist do? What does my life mean? It's about me, the people who care, a very small group. It seems smaller and smaller. The world just wants another Bill T. Jones. They want another work. They want masterpieces. They want things to hang on their walls. What do you want? Well, I'm tired. I would like to retreat with him to our little place in New Mexico, and I don't want to show up at the University of Virginia. I don't want to be, no, that's what was really heavy. Now, I'm still on my feet though. What did they teach me? Did I mention it in the film? The 4 things they said? We were able to glean by the end of this. When I asked them, how do you live? How do you live with a diagnosis? How do you love? They said, well, 1, make realistic goals and be willing and able to change them. Cherish small things. Be in the moment. This was a very difficult one, particularly for people who are non-believers. One needs a higher sense of purpose in one's life. Many people took that to be a sense of God. Although I did have a man who worked with me in Iowa. No, it wasn't him. It was his, the doctor who took care of him. They were wonderful there in Iowa City. Who said this man, he said that for him, it was his truck. Literally, he was a man dealing with cancer, and when they got him to talk about what represented transcendence and meaning, was his truck. You know, higher sense of purpose. And what was the last one? Community. A community. Reaching out for help to all my friends was one of the movements. A sense of community. Well, it gave me that. Do I remember it every day? No, I don't. But I'm glad I know it. I'm glad it's out there. That's something the art did. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rebecca. I'm a first-year medical student.
Hello, Rebecca.
I would imagine, you've touched on this just a little bit, but I would imagine that during the making of this piece, you became really close with the people you were working with who were ill. And as you said...
Well, they weren't all ill, you know.
Okay.
Some of them were or had been dealing with a life-threatening illness.
Okay, thanks
Yes.
for clarifying. How did you reconcile the emotions that you felt in your attachment to these people, the relationships you had with these people, with your desire later on to distance yourself from the piece?
I mean, why didn't we do the Still Here newsletter? It was an idea, you know, why didn't we do a yearly reunion? You know, because I think, you know, a couple of things happened. First of all, what you described, Matt, but about being close to that. I was there as a visitor, and I saw how could I afford to be there deeper than that. I think when you're someone's caregiver, you have to sign on, don't you? Because you're dealing with a person with a life-threatening diagnosis, you're supposed to be there. You're going to go on this journey with them. I could not. I lost track of Jason. His father came to me several visits later. And it was ambiguous, you know. Some of the loved ones were not quite sure about me and my motives. Some of them thought that I got their loved ones to give jewels to me that I used for my purposes. Some were very pleased. I mean, many were very pleased. Some did not know how to talk about this document, you know. So how did I deal with it? In some ways, I stepped away. But the world wouldn't let me not deal with it, because I had to deal with it as something I made, I did. But it was actually we did, something we did. I guess this meeting today is still dealing with it. How to show up, how to be honest, how to be honorable. Honorable in the sense of saying what I don't know. Why was there no skill here too? Oh my God, those workshops were so important to people. I could have made a career out of doing survival workshops. I could have, and it would have been a good career for someone else, for someone from your community. I did not. Yeah. Anyone else?
Gordon Putnam, I'm the chaplain at the Cancer Center.
Hello.
And in the middle of it, I wanted to get up and leave because it was too painful. It hurt.
You watched the whole thing last night?
I did not.
Oh, even
But
today?
Today.
Oh, I see. Mm.
Um,
You better watch out. No, I would tell you if you watch the whole thing, it is more, in some ways it's easier to watch, isn't it? Because the rhythm of it, there's much more joy in it. It's, this week honed it right down to something to go boom with. Anyways, I encourage you, please watch the whole thing.
well, what it brought up is, as we work with, and I work with a lot of people,
Yeah.
and the most difficult piece is being in the Cancer Center and deal with people going through chemotherapy, going through treatment. And they finish treatment, go home, and maybe 3 months later die. And
Yes.
then a month or two later, I find out they die. So there's no closure.
Mm.
And I was talking with a coworker this morning, actually, talking about how do we take care of ourselves, not protect ourselves, but take care of ourselves so that we don't get this shell around us, where we're just kind of working to interact with people, but not feel what's going on. Because if you continually feel what's going on, well, it drives you crazy.
Mm.
But what
What have you discovered? You've made this your life. You have found a way to survive. What have you discovered? What do you do?
Well, I think one of them is talk about it.
With your colleagues.
Colleagues, spouse, to do something to acknowledge it. We finally decided in our psychosocial team to do a memorial, remember everybody that we found out died in the last month. So we name them, talk about the ones that come back to us, acknowledge our vulnerability. And so it seems to me at times you got to have a ritual to be able to continuously renew yourself.
Continuously, yes. And mine is make the next work. That's what I do. And I have a community, expanded now, New York Live Arts, with 77 employees representing a whole aspect of modern dance or contemporary movement practice. But I have my own company as well, and they're young people. They joined me at 19. They heard about Still Here. They studied it when they were in college, whatever. They studied me when they were, so there is, that keeps me, this idea of nurturing. Do you have children? Yeah, I don't have children, but the universe has provided me a steady flow of disaffected, highly self-regarding young people. So, and I say that with great love for them on my good days, right? But that's one way. That's one way. All of this experience, these tears and all, trying to get them yesterday. There's a piece, I don't know, unfortunately we're not doing it here in your town. It's called D-Man in the Waters, which was made before this. Arnie Zane had died. And it was my own, I was unsure about my own life. And the company came back from mourning him, and we were working on this piece called D-Man in the Waters. D-Man was an offhanded reference to one of our most bizarre dancers. His name was Damien Aquavella, bodybuilder, man who was dealing with HIV/AIDS. But he was bella brute, you know, as the Italians say. Coarse face, but he could wear combat boots and pink tutu on the subway in rush hour and survive. But I used to joke and say you should be a stylist and open a boutique and call it D-Man's. Well, sure enough, as we were working on this piece, he became more and more ill. Literally, our opening night in New York, I carried him on stage in my arms because he was no longer able to walk. Caused a sensation. Bill T. Jones was working dying people into his act. Right. One night we did it because I promised. Now, why I'm telling you this is yesterday we brought that piece back. It's a very successful piece for us. So successful that I stepped away from it. I don't want to finish every program with this great homage to human suffering and, in quotations, peace made in the AIDS era. Right? That's what people think. No, we don't have to do that. We can go other direction. But yesterday we were coaching it again. Time has passed. Do they know what it was like when we made that piece, when we were, the dance was very hard. It had this crazy maniacal energy in it where people would call out each other on stage. And these, the audience can see us really struggling. This was not a piece about hiding the effort. This is a piece about showing, because the metaphor was of a dream I had, of a basin, a lake. And in this lake was everybody I knew. I don't know if I dreamed it or thought it. Some of them are swimming brilliantly. Some of them are drowning and signaling from the shore. Others are saving each other. This is all the images in the piece, but when you pull back the camera, you see this basin actually connects to a river, which connects to a tremendous waterfall. So, in a way, all is going over the waterfall. I was trying to talk to them yesterday about performance style. No, you're not going to a funeral. You don't want a pasted smile, but don't be afraid to make eye contact and smile. Because there was a time, I said, when those of us dancing it knew it was a privilege to be able to smile. That is something you got to be there to know it. And you know it. You know it. You have the sacred knowledge, right? You know what it means to say, how are you doing today? And you take someone's hand, right? You know that. They don't know it. Do I want them to know what it's like to have a 22-year-old comrade dying every day next to you in the rehearsal studio? Many of them, unfortunately, many of the gay men have forgotten it. Young ones, they have forgotten that. They never knew it. I see it as our failing if we didn't tell them better. But, so that was yesterday even, trying to understand what that spirit of fight was at this time. This was 90, the first one of these was 92, D-Man was made in 88. Arnie died in 88. The first person diagnosed with HIV that I knew was called GRID, Gay-Related Immune Deficiency Syndrome, was 1982. So there was a lot of history in that dance that I'm trying to, without burdening them with it, enliven them with it. They need to know what these things were. Somehow these things related to what you're saying. And I encourage you, you're doing, you don't need to be told that, but you're doing essential work. We thank you for it. Yes, we thank you for it. Yes, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Well, it's George, mentor.
Hey, how are you?
The anthropology department.
Hello.
My work is, my research is on notions of empathy, but as an anthropologist, I do sort of cross-cultural work. It's cross-cultural work on suffering. I want to go back to your first question, because it struck me as being rather odd. Is art cheating? I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about what you were thinking about there, because it seems to go counter to...
The violins? Are the violins cheating?
The violins cheating. In other words, is the film cheating? Is the dancing cheating? Because is there a faithfulness to something other than what is being performed?
Is that what I mean by cheating? There are hard truths in the human experience. Hard truths that are hiding in plain sight for many of us. Actual experience, death, struggle, love. Actually, we run up against them. Boom! Or art is supposed to, in some ways, deliver them to us. Well, I don't know what art is supposed to do. Art can. To make people feel the predicament of facing a life-threatening illness and the various emotional ramifications, how do they feel it? Do they feel it through empirical data? Do they experience it in the way that you folks who are professionals experience it? Or do you have violence telling you that now it's sad, now it's moved, now you should be moved? That's what I meant. It works as a construction. It works to do what? To engender strong emotional response. We live in a world where there are research studies done or market studies done in Hollywood and TV shows about how to get people to cry or laugh or get turned on. We live in an extremely manipulative era where everything is a survey and scientific. So that's what I meant. I don't want to be in that, not with this. This is not about trying to understand how to pull the heartstrings. The composer Ken Frizzell chose those strains, that tune. I guess when I said it, I could see in your faces that it was worth it for you. But as an artist, I keep asking myself, if I did it again, would I have such violins again? Would I do that? It is what it is. Does that answer your question still? Is it cheating? What is cheating?
Yeah, I guess so. It was mostly about what reality is, what suffering is, and can suffering actually be a violent tune? Can suffering be a mood? In other words, it's supposed to be representative. Representative of what? The thing that is experienced in reality, and you call it truth. But the truth itself is already up for grabs, right?
Except when you're feeling it in your gut.
Yes, but that's the business of experience that has to be communicative. It's communicative to yourself, but is it beyond that?
Well, that's what artists do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're looking for a way
Exactly.
to
So how
do
can
it.
it be, in one sense, a trick or cheating, when in fact that's the process of life, period? How to communicate as humans.
There can be, everything that's effective is not necessarily, no. Cheesy things can be effective. Let's put it that way. And if your objective is to, war is bad. Okay, I can show you atrocities that would make you come to that conclusion. Is that really worth saying? War is bad? Right. Child abuse is a horrible thing. Now let's go at it. What images would you use? What stories would you tell? How would you tell them in a way that's going to be dignified, worthy of the complexity of the issue? These are the ideas that the challenges facing any artist that wants to move into that domain, which is life. Life is always, or I should say almost always, stronger than what we can come up with in our artistic imagination. Just vaster, more complicated. Great poets, Shakespeare and others, are able to, in a few lines, encapsulate profound states of mind and questions. Great poetry. I think what I saw today, it is a document that I think will live. It will live. Am I proud of it? I think I am. But I'm critiquing it about its methods. That's all. That's what that is about. And also it's playing to get rid of my emotionalism. I guess that's a cue. Was there someone else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Pam Denison, and I'm a nurse here, and I want to thank you. I've been doing this business for 4 decades, and so I always look for inspiration, and the film last night gave me a new way to see what I do when I interact with patients. The touching, the being right there with them, the team, you never let go of people as they were moving, and seeing our team as providing that, and then catching as they fell were really visualizations that just I found them compelling. So I want to thank you. But my question for you is, how did you have the courage to ask them what their last day, what their last moment would be? Who would be there, how it would feel? That was the most uncomfortable thing for me, and I think because I've never had the courage to ask someone that.
I understand. I don't know if courage is it, or maybe it's naivete. Sometimes they almost amount to the same thing. That's a responsibility, isn't it, of being a leader, a thought leader. When you're in that situation, you have built a great trust and intimacy. What is it that I, as the artist, am looking for? Or what is the question that not being asked? What's the fear about death? So now take me up to your last moment. Now, okay, now try to imagine the unimaginable. And you are, I even say it, you're a fiction writer. Make it up. Because that's what it's about, isn't it? That's where art, that's what it was, being an artist as a thought leader. This is the way we exist all the time, in the realm of conjecture and projection and imagination. Here with all these feelings, as we're all in this little group, use that. I dare you, go ahead. We're just among friends. Now I hope that we get a pearl out of it. Sometimes you did, or sometimes just something as beautiful as watching that large woman do a dance. Then you love the way she said, oh. I said, let's do the dance with joy. Handed me the paper. she was just waiting for that invitation, you know. Some of them were very, very expensive in that regard. But that's the responsibility of being a thought leader. And particularly when you're dealing with such material. Now, it was important that I was one of the community. I don't know, maybe do people dealing with death confide in you, or do they want to know your health status? Do they want to know, am I talking to someone who is naive, who does not know, cannot know, and you're supposed to be the authority here? I'm sure that's a question, isn't it? Now, by now, you have a lot of experience on the other side. Yeah. Not you know of, I know. I mean, what do they tell us? One in 4 women in this room are going to have to deal with breast cancer. And what are the statistics on prostate cancer now, Jess? Yes? And as I say, nobody gets out of here alive. And what do you think about this idea? I said, this work was not supposed to be for sick people. It was not supposed to be for sick people, you know? It was supposed to be for people who are well. We talked about, we use the term, the arrogance of the well. Yeah, the arrogance of the well. What do you think about that, these concepts? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Bowerly from
Hi,
Student
Jen.
Health. I have a question about kind of the process of, that I just saw today's piece, of how you took their movements and then turned it into what became the dance. And I'm curious about your question of kind of who decides and
Who decides?
what eventually goes on stage.
Yes.
So I'm curious if the participants who created the genesis of the dance had veto power, could say, no, that's not, or and was that something?
No, they did not.
Was that something they knew ahead of time? Did they get to?
No, they often saw the work when everyone else was seeing it. And they heard the controversy when everyone else was seeing it, and heard themselves being called victims.
But they knew they were divided.
Well, they knew that I am an artist. I said, I'm not a practitioner. I'm an artist and a man. An artist who wants reasons to sing and dance, and a man who needs his hand held. And I come to you as experts. That's what we were told. The idea is to make a work. To make a work, a dance work. This is a byproduct, which still has given peace life. Did they know that? No. And did they sign a release? Yeah. They did sign a release.
That was the genesis of the dance. Was
Pardon?
that piece? That was the genesis of the dance?
Oh, yes.
Those workshops came first.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
workshops were research and development for artwork. That's what it was.
How long was it in between those and your final piece?
I think the whole thing, it took about a year and a half.
Well, there were what? There were 12 workshops with adults and 2 with children.
There were 12 workshops with adults, 2 with children, spanning year.
About a year and a half.
And I think you started in '92. You had done 2 workshops by the summer of '93, and the work premiered in September of '94. And from between the summer of '93 and spring of '94 were all the other workshops, followed by a period of rehearsal.
Yeah. Is that, is that a little credibility check on your part?
No, I'm just curious because when we are creating something for our students, they're involved. And I'm just curious about your process compared to how we do it.
Yes. This was a professional artist who was pursuing a certain type of investigation. It was not an educator and certainly not a practitioner. They had to understand that. And you'd be very curious to see how that falling exercise could have other permutations. There is a version where the group is moving and singing the Star Spangled Banner. Singing it, and at any moment a person can call me and they fall and the group has to catch them, lay them down and keep moving. So it's a whole other feeling, particularly with them falling and singing about rockets, red glare and all of that, you know. That's what an artist does, taking a motif and seeing if it can do other things. Yes, yes, was there
I
something?
think unfortunately, we
Right.
are at the end of our hour.
Okay, all right.
But I would like to thank you on behalf of all of us.
And thank you all very much.
For the Medical Center Hour to end its fall semester. We'll be back with you starting the 25th of January 2012, so enjoy the holidays. And if you can catch other events with Bill T. Jones and the Dance Company this week and this weekend, you are encouraged to do so. There's also on PBS on Friday night the premiere of another documentary film about Bill T. Jones called A Good Man. On the PBS stations, I forget what the series is.
It's called American Masters.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can catch that as well. Thank you so much.
And on Friday at the Paramount,
Yes.
the company will be doing a very beautiful, lush, not sad dance, about Abraham Lincoln at the Paramount on Friday night.
Yep.
Yes. Serenade, it's called.